facing, they tell us, a very perfect storm. 9 billion people on the planet by the year 2050. We've got the idea of global warming and climate change, which may affect us going forward, and there's no more land, which means the agricultural industry going forward is extremely unsustainable. The idea of this is that we will have the world's crops, at least samples of the world's crops there, in case of any sort of disaster. It's important, particularly for the developing world, as Wangari Maathai, the Nobel Prize winner, told me a little earlier on.
Apparently, they are preparing for the apocalypse.
Yeah, they won't have to pray after 2012. It's all going to be over.
I thought we were all concerned about 2000.
Right.
Wasn't that the case?
The millennium, yes. So what exactly is happening in 2012? They're pretty specific about
it. What do they think is going to happen?
The impending end of civilization. So they're buying.
Are you kidding me?
Their point of view that they wouldn't be so upset if, in fact, everything came to an end in just 4 years from now.
Great.
This is limited. This is limited to the Netherlands, I hope.
Right. I mean, I don't quite get where they're coming up with this. We talked a little bit about the Pew study and how many people believe in God. Next thing you know, we're talking about the Dutch, and they're planning on checking out at the end of 2012.
Well, the Pew study was American.
Right, exactly.
And these are the Dutch, so apparently they have different beliefs.
Well, they sure do.
And how many times have we seen those stories about how religion, Christianity in Europe is on the wane?
Oh, interesting.
I wonder if there's a connection between basic Christian teaching and the apocalypse coming in 4 years. I don't think so.
All right, Judge.
When you look at ancient texts and traditions all over the world, literally all over the world, you find very clear descriptions of an advanced race or races that we would call extraterrestrial, not of this planet, that came to this planet and brought this advanced knowledge a long, long time ago.
The story of reptilian gods from the heavens creating man is not at all uncommon. It in fact can be found in most every region of our planet. In Japan, emperors claim descent from dragon gods who came from the sky. Australian Aborigines teach of a reptilian race which lives underneath the earth and governs over men. They believe they are descendants of a race of dragon human. China teaches the serpent queen Nukua interbred with man. India calls these reptilian gods Nagas and claim they seeded their royal families. Throughout the Middle East it is believed a serpent race created man. The book of Genesis tells of giants who came from the heavens to breed with the daughters of man. They are called the Nephilim. In Africa they call them Chitari, children of the serpent. The royal kings of Africa claim descent from serpent gods who came from the sky. In South America, the Mayans teach that their ancestors were the people of the serpent. The Aztecs were said to be created by a serpent woman. In America, the Hopi Indians believe sky gods came to earth to breed with their women and refer to them as their snake brothers. The word Sioux means snakes, and Iroquois means serpents. It seems the only places you will not find this historical story is where the history has been methodically destroyed.
Some of the most famous examples of this are what have become known as the Sumerian texts or tablets. They were found in what we now call Iraq.
On or about June 12, 2006, during a routine patrol of ancient sites in southern Iraq, members of the U.S. Army's 260th Quartermaster Battalion made what some are calling the greatest archaeological find of all time.
In the last century, about 1850, there's thousands of them, and they've been translated by a number of people, most famously a guy called Zecharia Sitchin. People think he's the only one that's done it because of the publicity and stuff that he's got in his books, but many other people have done it, and actually have come to a slightly different interpretation than him. But the common theme of all of them is this, that a group which the Sumerian tablets, which were buried around 2000 BC, something like that, they talk about this group they call the Anunnaki in Sumerian, those who from heaven to earth came, which is the basic translation, but those who came from the high place and down to the earth overall is the feel of it. The Anunnaki. And when it talks about these Anunnaki and the tablets and stuff, here's an example of just one of the so-called cylinder seals that were found among them, depicting various things. There are some remarkable points and areas of text and evidence that you can see. First of all, there is remarkable knowledge in these texts of planetary, solar system, universal astronomical knowledge that has only been confirmed in this century, and sometimes even more recently. In the text, for instance, they describe what Uranus and Neptune look like in a way that's only been confirmed in literally the last few years. They depict the solar system with planets that have only been found in the last century and the 20th century. How did they do that? What they say is the knowledge was brought by this Anunnaki. But it's more than that, because it talks in some detail about how this Anunnaki interbred with humanity, creating a hybrid race. And you find this theme all over the world. You find it in Genesis, in the Bible, which is a rewrite, when you do the research, of the Sumerian stories. So we get the theme of the sons of God who interbred with the daughters of men. But when you take that back to the Hebrew, just one step, you find that that phrase, sons of God interbred with the daughters of men, actually says sons of the gods interbred with the daughters of men. And every time in the Old Testament you see the word God, it's translated from a word meaning gods. And it's clear to me that we have been misled and we've misunderstood the difference between the gods, symbolically extraterrestrials in the ancient world, and God, which is all consciousness, all energy, everything that exists. So these Sumerian tablets very much confirm this ancient race. Now, again, when you look at other cultures, you find the same stories in the ancient Hindu cultures, the Veda. The Vedas, their ancient holy books, you find descriptions of the gods flying in flying machines, which we would call aeroplanes or UFOs or flying saucers, whatever. And when you take the common theme around the world, it's very clear that in the ancient world was a race or races of very, very high technological knowledge. And this was the knowledge that built the pyramids. This was the knowledge that built all those ancient structures which conventional history and archaeology simply cannot explain. Now, this area here of what we call the asteroid belt would seem to be very, very significant. If you take Zecharia Sitchin's translation of the Sumerian tablets, the detail of which I have a problem with, I must say, here and there, they talk about, according to his translation, that a planet called Nibiru, the planet of the crossing in his translation of the Sumerian, came into this solar system a vast, vast amount of time ago. And one of its moons collided with a planet that was between Jupiter and Mars, and that created the asteroid belt, which just happens to be between Jupiter and Mars. That's one interpretation of what...
Quickly transferred to nearby Talil Air Base, the find was brought to London, where a panel of Near Eastern scholars and linguists were assembled to analyze it. Almost 2 years later, many panel members are upset. They say the US and British governments have reneged on an agreement to share the discovery with the world.